Welcome to the Church Communications Podcast, a podcast that celebrates church communicators that are around the world. Our podcast offers practical advice for your church communication strategy needs. And this podcast is brought to you by Katie Allred and Josh Taylor of churchcommunications.com. Welcome to Church Communications. I'm Katie Allred, and as always, my friend Joshua Taylor is here with me.
Hey, Katie.
And today we are talking with our special friend, our good friend, Kim Garrett. She is the director at Victory Health Partners, and we're just so happy to have you with us. Thanks, Kim.
Well, thanks for having me. It's always fun.
Yeah, we're just big fans of you, and we know that you know a lot about the subject that we're talking about today.
So Kim, we had you here because one of the things that we want to talk about is, we've got the legacy givers, and for a lot of churches, that's going to be our boomers, people that have really been in the habit of giving. They've built a great retirement for themselves or something like that, and they're thinking about what happens with their legacy, what happens when they're no longer here. They're thinking about inheritances, they're thinking about wills and different things like that. And one, you are a rock star when it comes to engaging donors because you are the director of a nonprofit that takes zero federal funding. I love what Victory Health Partners do. Just to give our listeners an idea of what you guys do, you provide really great health care for uninsured adults on the Gulf Coast here. And you guys are trying to expand that vision out nationwide because healthcare is obviously an issue here in our country and a very hot topic in our country. And you guys are really solving a real need in the community. But you guys take no federal funding. You're completely run on donor dollars. So you are really dependent on what you can do based on people giving. You really have a talent for that and have done a great job with Victory and other organizations that you've been a part of.
Yeah, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you do at Victory Health?
Yeah, so I'm the director, so I kind of wear two different hats of monitoring and working with the operations, so the clinical side. And really, I mean, that's an easy job because we have such a great team and leadership within all the clinics areas to where I'm just there to support, encourage, be there when they need me. But I mean, the team is just phenomenal. They are constantly looking for ways to improve, increase efficiencies, and they just have a heart for the mission. I mean, and that's key for any organization. I mean, we have every person there has a heart for our patients, for the mission, their alignment. So that's really just key for our organization. And then on the development side, we have a budget about 1.3 million where we need to raise more than half every year. And we need to have a diverse donor base where we're not relying on one source of funding. And like what Josh says, we don't receive any government funding so that we can care for the patients that we need to in that way. So physically, emotionally, but then also spiritually. And with those federal funds, you just can't do it that way by receiving those dollars. So we've built a strong donor base and a donor cycle so that, we're constantly trying to acquire new donors. We're looking at how we cultivate them, how we solicit them, and then also moving into the stewardship piece, which is a lot of the legacy that we're going to be talking about. So it's an area where I'm always learning, always finding new opportunities to grow and to, just keep getting the word out. So it's challenging, but like my boss always says, we go home tired, but we go home blessed for sure every single day.
Yeah. So what we want to talk about is real practical ideas, because I think this is something that a lot of churches don't think about. But I was talking to my parents even just a few weeks ago, and we were talking about wills and just, they've really done a great job of building wealth over their lifetime, investing in the right thing, saving their money, not having a lot of debt. And so they've done a great job. They've been blessed to have jobs where they got great 401ks and those kind of things. And so they're talking to me about some of their plans with it. And I know even for them, and honestly, I didn't even know you could do this, but a good portion, I think actually one of their 401ks is going to go to their church when they pass away, and which is going to be a very generous gift to their church. But I think a lot of churches don't think about engaging their church community in that way. And I think a lot of people don't even think about that they can do that with their retirement.
Sure.
So what are some practical ways that you are engaging people or have thought about engaging people with Victory Health that really could apply to churches? Because for you guys, it's a lot of the same donor base.
Right, exactly. And I think it's just having it be a part of the conversation. We think of tithing, we think of our monthly contribution, or this special contribution to this or that, but just have it be a part of the conversation, and to kind of take away some of the fear, because it can, that can be confusing, that people don't really understand about, and it can be intimidating for people, because it's the tax laws, things change every year, and there's just a lot of different options, which is good, but it can also be really intimidating for folks. But I think just having, if you have some of those professionals within your church, not that we need another committee, but to bring those people around so that you have the professionals. That's something where I know my limitations. I'm not a CFP, I'm not a CFA or a lawyer, but for Victory, we're gathering a team of those people, so that if someone comes to me and says, I want to make a planned gift for Victory, I want to do an annuity or something, and they don't already have those people in place, I can say that Victory has a team of people who are close to the mission, close to the vision, but then they are also professionals and leads within the field that then I can refer them to, and they can work through anything through their will. They can set up that gift, all the parameters. So I would think just looking within your church, your congregation, and seeing who are those people that you can lean on their wisdom, because they're the ones who are, who know all the rules and regulations and, the language to put into their will if people don't already have that relation set up. So I think, pulling together that team for plain giving, and then also just have it a part of the conversation, as you talk about tithing, as you talk about leaving a legacy, include it, because you think of just the stewardship and the impact in the kingdom that you can make through a charitable gift. It's huge. Those gifts, they don't come frequently. That'd be great if they did, but when those gifts do come, they are significant. So you certainly want to have a plan. You certainly want to include that. And then it's also just stewarding your congregations, because it's just showing them another opportunity that they can impact the kingdom. So that'd be some practical things.
Really great advice. I didn't think about that, but we have plans in place for, we've been talking this season about online giving and giving in general. And one of the things that we talk about is having that immediate call to action, where online giving really helps with that. And what you're saying is be prepared when somebody wants to. So don't wait for somebody to want to donate their retirement, to the church, put the church in their will or something like that. Have a plan in place so that when they're ready to do that, it's super quick, it's super easy, and super convenient for them to do that. You've got people in place for them to talk to. So I think that's really great.
I think that's, making relationships too with lawyers, with those kind of people in your congregation. They probably already exist. So like just finding the right people, financial advisors.
And they will probably donate their time to help.
Sure. And that's something, everything with development, with giving, you want to make it easy for the donor. So if you can, if they don't have somebody, it's like, well, here's some, having some collateral material, have some information of like just how the church utilizes, like the impact it would make on the church. And then also language and different resources that then they can take and put those things into place. So yeah, as easy as you can make it, as prepared as you can be, the better.
Giving solution that inspires generosity without blowing through your budget? Kindred's offering a totally free $0 per month online giving account for our church communications listeners. That's right, you get online giving for free.
Look, this is a special offer, so act fast. Go to kindrid.com/churchcommunications to join. That's kindrid.com/churchcommunications, and you can join there.
Okay, so Kindred believes generosity is one of the most powerful witnesses to the gospel. It transforms communities. We believe that too. That's why they created this deal. They make it affordable for you to equip 100% of your church to participate in your vision.
Remember, this offer won't last long, so go to kindrid.com/churchcommunications and save thousands with an exclusive deal.
Yeah, we can't wait.
So how do you educate them that they can even do this?
I would have it on your website, just whenever you're talking about giving, tithing, and just, I think especially for the faith community, it's something that you can really talk about with legacy, with heritage within the family, that it's so much more than just the monetary, the gift, that it's something, it's like, what does your family stand for?
Mm.
What's a legacy that your family wants to leave
Right.
that's more
What do you
than
wanna be known
just,
for?
what do you want to be known for? And it's such a awesome tool that you can bring the entire family together, where you're bringing in the kids, the spouses, the grandkids. It's like, this is who our family is. And one of the tools that we do that is through our giving, but then also it's how we serve, how we spend our time together, and, spending
Mhm.
our money is a part of that. So, and just being good stewards of what God has given us. So it really could be a neat ministry within the church, where it's
Mhm.
so much more than just the gift. The gift is certainly significant, but then also, like, what's your
Right.
legacy within your family? So,
Mhm.
Yeah.
I worked at a mega church previously, and we actually had a foundation set up in place just to
mhm,
handle that specifically with
sure.
financial advisors and retirement lawyers that would handle writing your will and those kind of things. It was a ministry of itself, really,
Mhm,
just to give people that final guidance on how do I handle retirement in general, but
mhm,
also how do I steward my retirement really well. So I think that that's something that churches don't do, I don't know, a good enough job of just educating people, like you were saying, about retirement and about what their legacy is going to be.
Yeah, I
mhm,
mean, that's a great way to maybe educate people too, is having, if you have an attorney or a couple of attorneys that are in your church that want to serve the church some way, maybe one of the ways that they can serve the church is say, hey, we're gonna help the
right.
people in your church do their will,
Mhm,
which
yep.
could save them $300 to $500
Right.
to write a
Yes.
will, and most people probably
Yeah.
don't have a will.
Right. What
A
a
lot of
Um,
stealing.
people don't.
yeah, and
A lot of
so
people don't have savings. They don't have wills. A lot of people aren't planning for retirement. So finding those financial advisors, finding those people who, can really help, and you think about the impact that that makes on the family. But then, that might be giving them the ability to have a retirement, but then also, to have the ability, no matter how big or how small, to give back. So,
yeah.
Hmm.
And to educate them using, there's all the financial classes that you can offer
mhm,
to, help people get out of debt and steward their finances. And a part of that is often, now, what do you do now that you've paid off your
Hmm.
debt and you're
Hmm.
investing? What do
mhm,
you do long term? And the legacy
Hmm.
is often a part of that. And so it may be worth having your church go through that,
Hmm.
either on Sundays as part of your sermon series, or you offer a class on it or something
right,
like that,
sure.
and have financial advisors be a part of that,
Yeah, for sure.
to
Mhm,
help educate and let people know. Obviously, you want to be careful not to, let it be a sales thing.
right.
But I think most of the
Yeah.
financial advisors and attorneys in your church just want to serve, and so it's not about sales for
mhm,
them. It's about being able to give back to the
right,
community, and so utilize them in that way, because I think that's a unique. Instead of handing them a shovel and telling them to go do landscaping,
right,
use the talents that are in your church
right.
and see how you can utilize. And I think that's a great way to
Yeah.
utilize those people.
Absolutely. And then it frees up the church, where, like, I know my limitations, like, I'm not a CFP, I'm not, but then it's the organizations as a church to really steward those relationships, and, to get those relationships, through good communication, acknowledgement, transparency, to where you have that donor base who is at that level with that relationship, where you have the respect and really the right to be able to talk about these significant gifts. So that can be something, certainly with the pastors, and just having, people engaged. But then when it comes to time where it's actually talking the language and getting stuff in place, having that team of professionals to get everything taken care of would be great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's so practical. I think that that's something that our church leaders can really get on working on this summer. Is what is that team going to look like? So, when somebody comes to us and say, what, I want to make the church a part of my will. Do you have that team? Do you have phone numbers in place that they could call, or people that you
Hmm.
can put in touch with them to say, okay, let's get that done for you? Because I think that that's something that is important, to have an immediate call to action while
Sure.
that's on people's hearts and minds.
So, Kim, what do you do to thank your givers? You've been doing fundraising for a long time, and I know it's like something that you love. So, like, what's something that you've done that you think has really stood out to you for thanking people?
Oh gosh, like, we try to do, I try to thank at least 5 donors every day. Usually I'll write like a handwritten thank you note, but it'll be
Yeah.
calling, it'll be having events to where we to where we bring in a patient. Every year we have our annual event and we bring in patients who share their testimony, which always blows my mind because it's like their personal health journey and they're standing up in front of 500 people sharing, and it's just amazing. Something that I thought was neat, and it wasn't anything extravagant, but for that event we usually have anywhere from 500 to 520 people, and we had a thank you note, a patient testimony thank you note at every single person's seat, so handwritten out. Each one was unique at each table, and the first year we did it, people were like really amazed by that. It took time, it took effort, but just the way that we can connect people with the patients and the ministry, just to say thank you, because we get to see it every day. We get to see lives change. We get to see people healed, restored, the transformation that comes from, the counseling, but then also, people experiencing the healing love of Jesus. I mean, that's just incredible. So, and people who have come to faith, who come back to faith, who are introduced for the first time, but then also, just to have that hope of being healed. Like, we see that every day. So we want our donors who are such a huge part of that, to really feel it just like we get to. So we bring people in for tours, to see it firsthand. So yeah, any way that we can thank, we always do. So, but it doesn't have to be anything big. It's a handwritten thank you note. It's a phone call. So a story.
Well, Kim, thanks so much for sharing. I think that that's very practical advice, and especially for something that a lot of us don't really think about, is a great way to engage people and let people leave a lasting legacy. So thanks for sharing that. And to our listeners, if you guys are looking for a really great organization to be a part of, check out victoryhealth.org, because they're doing some really great things on the Gulf Coast. They're trying to get this vision to catch across the United States to take care of our healthcare problem here and make sure that people who are uninsured have access to really great healthcare. And they're doing that here on the Gulf Coast and doing some cool stuff. So check them out, victoryhealth.org. Kim Garrett, thank you so much for sharing some practical advice on the subject for us.
Awesome. Anytime.
And you can find us at churchcommunications.com or wherever you get your fine podcast. And thank you for joining us today. Our friends at Kindrid are being crazy generous. If you tweet @_Kindrid, again, that is @KINDRID_Kindred, and tell them why you need a church app, they'll make sure you get one of those too, for free. Okay? Did you hear that? Online giving and a church app for free. Just tweet @_Kindred and tell them why you need a church app.
Hey, thanks for listening to the Church Communications Podcast with Katie Allred and myself, Josh Taylor. If you like our show and want to know more about us, check out our website, churchcommunications.com. You can also join us on our Facebook group. Just search for Church Communications on Facebook, and we would love for you to leave a 5-star review on iTunes.